Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm, of course, your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. And above all else, that you're looking after yourselves and one another. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into the topic of the show, I want to welcome back to the channel, Mr. Ken Cheshire. How's it going?
Going well, Armando. Good to see you guys.
Good to be seen. Good to see you. And yes, the man of the hour, and know how you love it when I call you that, Mr. Jim Bricker.
Hi, I'm the man of the hour. I'm happy to be here.
Has a bit of a glow over his head, ladies and gentlemen, due to
I
overhead
do.
lights.
I do.
A bit of a shadow on his face. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you to part one of Play Me a Song, deep cut dive into Billy Joel. Okay. Now, unless you've been living in a cave for the last X amount of years, you do know who Billy Joel is. Fantastic singer-songwriter, started out in the early 1970s, released his first album in 1971, Cold Spring Harbor. That album really didn't go anywhere. We'll get into that in a second. Before we started talking or started taping, sorry, we talked about an issue with the album in terms of, well, we'll get into that. But he followed that up with Piano Man in 1973, and that's when his career basically took off. He has released albums throughout the 70s into the 80s. His last album of pop rock oriented material was River of Dreams in 1993. After that, he, how do you put it? Basically took a break from recording pop rock oriented type of music and wanted to delve into, classically oriented compositions, which he did. But what we're here to do today is discuss some of the deep cuts of his catalog. So, my two friends here, Ken and Jim, had given me uh, a list of 24 tracks. This is why we have split the episode into two segments, okay? So, part one, we're going to be covering years 1971 to 1978. And yeah, it's quite the list, quite the list. So, before we get into that, I want to ask you two, how did you both get into Billy Joel overall? Like,
Ken,
Jim.
Ken.
yes.
Go ahead, Jim.
All right. Well, geez, how did you not get into Billy Joel when you were, you know, 12 years old in 1977 when The Stranger came out? I mean, that thing was just an ubiquitous monster. It was all over AM and FM radio, and
Mhm.
really, you were saying Piano Man, is when he started to hit it, but The Stranger is when he just went into the upper echelons of pop rock, godhood, small G. Um, and Yeah, it's just one of those things that is just really undeniable. Once you begin to discover what's there beyond the singles, you realize that this guy is no like one trick pony with just, singles. He's got albums that are just rich and deep and just full of just master classes of melody, harmonization, arrangement. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. Um, so I've been a Billy Joel fan since 1977, seen him three times in concert um, back in the 80s. And yeah, I'm a big fan of his stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah. I was familiar with primarily with Piano Man when it was released. It got a lot of airplay, but that was really the only one that got a lot of airplay until, like Jim says, The Stranger came out. And at the time, it was like once you hit a certain age, you were automatically given a copy of The Stranger, Frampton Comes Alive, and Fleetwood Mac Rumors.
Oh,
It
bloody yeah.
those
Those were
three
rites of
were all
passage.
over the place. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And Asia. Him.
to an extreme, yeah.
Ladies
But
and
All right.
it
gentlemen,
wasn't as widely
Jim,
popular as the other. So
ladies and
That's true.
gentlemen, for the record, if you didn't know already, Jim loves Asia from Steely Dan. And Ken as well.
As do we all, may I
As do we
say.
all. As do we all.
Okay, all
But,
right. I'm just
you
saying
know,
you can't let 1977 go by without dropping Asia in there. So that's
I wish I could have just placed a bet on this episode that you didn't mention Asia in terms of like influential albums of the 70s. Because you know what? It's impossible. Rightfully so. It's impossible to not mention Asia. But yeah,
sorry, Ken. I interrupted you.
sorry.
It's okay.
Can
No,
go
I
on.
mean that was it. It was you could not ignore The Stranger.
No.
You absolutely, even if you didn't have a radio, you still couldn't ignore it because, like I said, just like everybody had a copy of it. It was, yeah, it was just everywhere. It was everywhere.
Yeah, and just to put you in the context of where I was at that time. I mean, 1977, I was 7 years old. Okay. So I knew of the hits because I mean, growing up with three older sisters, music was always on in the house, like I've said before. So even if you didn't have the album or even the single, you would listen, you would hear the music on the radio and you would understand who it is, right? You pick up on it. And between, Piano Man and The Stranger, there were two albums that were released between them, like the Turnstiles and was it Street Life Serenade, I think the album.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I only found out about those two albums like a year ago,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I really didn't
Mhm.
know that they existed. So this is an education episode for me. I really had no idea of these songs that were given to me to listen to and to basically um dive into and sort of have them seep into my brain, in terms of the music that was given to me. It's amazing. Amazing. And I mean, when you meant like for me, just a little side note too, Billy Joel for me comes from a singer-songwriter point of view, like a James Taylor, you know, uh, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young or Crosby, Stills, Nash, you know what I mean? That kind of ilk, you know what I mean? Not necessarily like a pop-oriented type of a songwriter, pop rock or soft rock, or dare I say yacht rock, songwriter. So, ladies and gentlemen, they have given me again 24 tracks in total. We're going to go through the first 12.
The only thing I'll mention just about these 24 is that the
Yes.
criteria that Ken and I had coming up with them was that A, these were not released as singles, to the best of my research. They were not on Songs from the Attic, which was Billy Joel's phenomenal live album from 1981.
Yes, I
And
have it.
okay, and some of these may have been on the 3 volumes of greatest hits that Billy Joel did, but I don't swear by it. That was not part of our criteria because I know that even Billy when he put the albums together, he would put deep cuts in there that he thought were worthy. So there may be some cross pollination there.
Yeah, when I think of the list right now, even thinking about part two, there is a song on the list that was released as a single.
Was there? Dang it!
Yeah,
Okay.
just one. Just one. But you know what? There you go. It's what it is. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive into this, starting with 1971 and Cold Spring Harbor. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. The altered pitch, sped up voice elephant in the room. This album came and went, basically sank like a stone, disappeared pretty much without a trace. And the major issue with the album is the altered pitch and Billy Joel's singing voice. So I mean, we talked about this before we started recording, ladies and gentlemen. Why the hell didn't they fix this? In all the years it's been released, it's 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, guys! Like like why not?
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
Billy's not one of those guys to go in and do like a 40th anniversary,
Yeah,
release. I mean, there's been a couple of times, like The Stranger, I think had a 30th
yeah,
anniversary release, but he isn't on this thing where it's like every time an anniversary comes, oh, there's a new version of 52nd Street that's been remastered or anything. So
yeah.
I guess Billy just has this kind of let sleeping dogs lie attitude about his catalog.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are other artists like Geddy Lee from Rush. He was asked once, and like, do you ever get like, what do you think about these remasters that they do of your re-releases? And he says, you know what? I don't even think about it. I don't even, that's got nothing to do with me. The record company and management want to do it, so I let them do it, and I move on. I don't look back. So, but yeah, I mean, the first couple of songs from Cold Spring Harbor, uh, Tomorrow is Today. Now, it's got to be said, this album basically, from what I'm hearing, these two tracks is basically Billy Joel with an acoustic guitar or a piano, and it's just this fits into the singer-songwriter mold for me, like right off the
Yeah.
bat, right?
Right.
Hmm.
This is way before, Liberty DeVito, I think, came in on drums, and
Right.
you know, surprised I remember the drummer's name. I'm good, I guess. I don't know. It's been one of those days. But for Tomorrow is Today, I mean, first of all, why did you? I know why I like this song, but why did you give me this song to out of all the ones on the album?
I picked it because um well, sort of connecting back to Songs in the Attic. I think people became really familiar with Cold Spring Harbor when they heard the two cuts that were on Songs in the Attic, which is Everybody Loves You Now and She's Got Away. I guess I selected these songs probably because of their, I'll call it proximity to She's Got Away, which, really highlights, Billy as just a first class um, author of ballads that really do a great job of sort of tugging the heartstrings.
Yeah,
um and I think the two songs Tomorrow is Today and Got to Begin Again, I think Tomorrow is Today is kind of the stronger of the two. And it's got this great kind of classical pop gospel feel to it that he just kind of takes in all kinds of
yeah,
different directions.
yeah,
I just thought that they were sort of representative of the purity of one guy with one piano just delivering everything.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have in my notes for Tomorrow is Today, beautiful simple melody, you know, for the
Yeah.
piece. Um, so I mean, and Got to Begin Again. It's a very, how can I put this? A very singer-songwriter type of composition, very emotional and emotional lyrics. He to me, he's like pouring his heart out, like a
Yeah.
lot, like just earnest. He's very earnest and just like, you know, like,
Mhm.
my heart may be broken, but I got to keep pushing. I gotta go forward, kind of thing, right? With whatever the situation is. So, um, yeah. Aside from the altered pitch of his vocals, it's like I can't get over the Mickey Mouse helium kind of element of that of the album.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, these two songs lay a foundation for on this list for everything that comes after. It shows his strength, like you said, one man and a piano, and incredibly well crafted, well performed songs. I mean, this is the bedrock of what he made his career on. So, yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. I was going to ask you this question later on, but I'll ask it now. What the hell?
What the
Um,
hell?
what the hell? Billy Joel or Elton John?
Oh, you can't do that. I couldn't pick.
Yes, I can.
Oh, you can. Okay, that's
No, no, no. I'm just saying I can do that. Just no, you don't
can,
have to answer it now. I'm just saying, later on we can discuss it more because I know my opinion of it, but I mean, um, all right,
you're throwing a tangent in so early, brother. What are you
okay,
doing to us?
okay. Well, tangent to come.
I'm
So,
willing to discuss it, but let's come back to it.
all right, no, we
All
can
right,
Yeah,
we can we can come back
yeah.
to it.
we can discuss
Um,
it as gentlemen, maybe.
it's, you, you want to go outside and talk about
You want to
it?
talk to me about Elton John versus Billy Joel?
Oh God, here we go. Okay. Um, moving on to Piano Man. First track, Traveling Prayer. Um, I have in my
One of the
notes here.
greatest opening tracks of all time. I'm sorry.
Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
It
boom. It's
starts off
great.
like that, and then right out of nowhere, the banjo comes in and it almost becomes an actual bluegrass jam.
like my God, yeah.
And the piano work, oh gosh,
Oh, fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah, in
The
my
thing I love
notes.
about Traveling Prayer, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Armando,
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
is that it just shows that even this early in his career, how he was not afraid to sort of dive into different genres and explore different facets of music overall.
Yeah,
And he just, like Ken saying, he nails it. It's a great opening track. Absolutely, I love it.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have in my notes great piano, chord stabs, quote unquote, great bass and banjo work, great tempo. I'm hearing a shuffle beat myself when I hear it, like when I hear the track. I may be wrong, but I think it's fantastic. And it's got to be said too, this is at a time, early 70s, this is at a time where the record companies would let you go off and do different things, different types of music on one album, right? If you wanted to do a bluegrass track, they let you do it, right? This was sort of before, they fell into the format kind of a situation, right? Like where you had to deliver a certain type of a track in order to get on the radio. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's just fantastic. I love it. I think it's great.
I do too.
Um, Worst comes to worst.
First song, side B.
Yes.
It's just a fun song. It comes in with that funky, wah pedal on the guitar.
Yeah. Mama Penny. Yeah.
And to me,
And
this is one of his party songs, I think. This is what I associate with just, you know, having friends over and, putting fun music on the stereo.
yeah, yeah, it is a very funky tune. And if my ears don't deceive me, I think I hear accordion in there too.
I think so.
I would,
And
yeah.
so it's just like you get funk guitar and accordion in like the first 30 seconds. I'm sold.
Yeah. Yeah. No, in my
And
notes
it,
I
and it,
have,
and it works. Yeah.
yeah, in my notes I have great rhythm and tempo, nice guitar tone. That's what I like about,
Yes.
the guitar player that he had. Just really good solid tone and just very just again for me melodic, but melodic in a very subtle way. I mean, certain some songs the melody's kind of hidden. It's not obvious, you know. Um that's what I'm picking up anyways.
Yeah. And just the thing about this album overall, piano, I mean, obviously everyone knows the title track, and deservedly so. It's
Yes.
fantastic. But this album is also filled with some other just absolute diamonds in Billy Joel's
Jesus.
discography.
Yeah.
You're My Home is absolutely stunning. Captain Jack is just, Ken, I know you're a big fan of the Billy Joel epics, and this might be the most epic of them. Um, and Ballad of Billy the Kid as
Fallibility
well.
Kid. Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
and then this is where I personally have a you talked about Billy Joel versus Elton John. The thing I like about both of their early works are these huge epic story songs that Elton
Yep.
John did, and for the first three albums, and after that he kind of went more to the smaller um, regular format,
Yeah.
3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, these epic songs, Billy the Kid and Captain Jack, they're just absolutely amazing. And um, You're My Home is just one of the most beautiful
Oh yeah. Yeah.
musically and lyrically. It's just
Yes.
incredible.
Like sweet Jesus. I mean, yeah, it is fantastic.
Yeah,
And ladies and gentlemen, when we say epic songs, I mean, for me, I'm not necessarily talking about song length. I'm talking about the arrangement of the track, the scope of the track, how it's, like the instrumentation of the song, whether it's 5 minutes or even 3 minutes and 2 seconds, it doesn't matter. But what's within the composition is just sublime. It is
Yeah.
sublime.
From an arrangement standpoint,
yeah.
yes.
Yes, very much so from an arrangement standpoint. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. But yes, yes, as we go on. Moving on to the next album, Street Life Serenade. Um, The Entertainer.
I
Thoughts?
love this tune. I absolutely adore it. It's
Yeah.
just such a, um, you know, lots of great acoustic guitar feature in this one, which obviously doesn't you don't get in a lot of Billy Joel songs, later in his career.
Yeah.
And just the whole, tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic view of the music industry that's just captured in this song is just perfectly done. And it's, incredibly upbeat. I mean, the note I have is that this is a great pop song about, pop songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
And
me, I've always thought of this as Piano Man Part Two as far as content
The
subject.
album or the
yeah,
song?
No, this song, The
yeah,
Entertainer.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
kind of get
Yeah.
where you're coming from. Go on. Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, it's somewhat autobiographical in that guess what he does? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the entertainer, he's the piano man, and it's just yeah, from his viewpoint. So yeah,
but
that's just
yeah,
what strikes my mind.
yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. What I'm getting from this song, I have in my notes, great acoustic guitar, banjo work, nice synth work, very topical in that he's saying it's kind of like a little jab to the record company because he's saying, I like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, how can I put this without being crude? I can't. I'll say it, okay. I know that you're telling me I'm great and you're blowing smoke up my butt and all this and that my music is great, but I also know that if I don't deliver in terms of sales, you're gonna drop me, kind of thing. Like, I'm only as good as the music I give you that you can sell, kind of thing. And
Yep.
bang on, I'm like, okay, he's already starting to think, even at this early point in his career, that if he doesn't deliver the goods musically, he's off Columbia kind of thing. Like he's sort of saying, okay, or, off CBS, right? So it, it's musical, it's melodical, but it's also very uh oh God, what's the word? It's on point as to where what he's thinking at the time, right? And
So it's a very pointed barb. Yeah.
yes, yes, you're not fooling me, you're not fooling anybody. I know what I'm here to do. And if I don't deliver, then I know I'm out the door, kind of a thing. So yeah, it's oh my God. It's uh very a very pointed barb. That's a good way to put it.
And
Um
he's got some great piano playing on this track. Absolutely. Just like the last third of the song where he really kicks in with these, with these chords and colors around the melody. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of textures to his and levels to his compositions that I think maybe gets overlooked sometimes.
Oh yeah.
That's
You know,
just
I get that's the great thing is that, people probably put him in this ghetto or context of just the way you are and everything is like that. But it's like, no, 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 no. There's a real depth here. And the Elton John comparison is it's apt. It's not 100% accurate, but it's apt.
well, a little side story that you know, he and Elton John used to tour quite a bit together. I've
Yep.
seen them in concert together. Um,
Nice.
and you know, he was Billy Joel was asked one time, you know, Elton John's told you that, you should be releasing more albums and and just to get back up on the horse and start releasing more albums. And he turns around and says to the host, well, maybe he should be releasing less, right? It's
Yeah,
just like
that was on one of the late night talk
I
shows.
think it was with Jimmy Fallon, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I've seen that video.
yeah, and just it was like a little quick like jab at Elton John. Like we won't get into that,
Yeah.
but I mean, do you know what I mean? Like it. Anyways, um, next song on the album, "Souvenir." Um, oof,
The reason I picked Souvenir is
yeah,
that to me it's got a real maturity to it that kind of foreshadows what is going to come with the next album,
Yes.
which is that near masterpiece Turnstiles.
yeah, yeah. What I have in my notes, aside from great piano chords, there's in my notes I wrote there's a pleading quality to the lyrics in the song. Just he's got a way to pull out emotions out of you that you didn't know you had. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
when you listen to him, it's like, my God, you've been through the ringer after listening to this stuff. It's just unreal, right? Especially this song. Uh,
Yeah.
What's your opinion, Ken?
No, yeah, I think Jim is right. Um, it is a prelude what's going to be coming next, and many of his albums do that. They will have one song that will allude to, where he's going, because the albums definitely have a progression,
Hmm.
from one to the next,
Hmm.
both musically and lyrically, and yet they still maintain a Billy Joel-ness,
Yeah.
So even though he writes in different styles and whatever, so yeah, that is the point of this on the list.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fantastic, fantastic
Yeah,
stuff.
the second time I saw Billy Joel was for the Innocent Man tour, and this was the concluding song of the night. It's like after Big Shot, after all the big hits, and the band is, let's say, he just sits down and plays Souvenir, and it was just the perfect capstone for the evening. It just kind of ties everything together about why people just love Billy Joel as a songwriter and a performer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a little side note. You got to wonder too, when he made the statement he was no longer going to be recording pop rock
Right.
oriented albums. You got to wonder. I mean, whether or not he was tired of playing the hits live, like whether he was just like, okay, if I have to play just the way you are one more time, I'm gonna get in the bell tower and do some damage. Just you know what I mean? Like it's just it. That's just it. I mean, as fans, people want to hear the hits, but they have no idea what toll, if any toll, it does take on that person to have to play it over and over and over again, right? Um, that I'm just speculating that maybe this is what occurred, right? I'm just just,
Well, that's one of the neat things about Joe Jackson is that over his career, when he has taken out the hits, like "Is She Really Going Out with Him" is a great
yeah,
example.
yeah,
Pretty much every tour from about 82 on, he's rearranged that song.
yeah,
And he does it with other songs too in his catalog. And he says, I do it to keep me interested in playing the damn thing night after night.
yeah,
If I could do something that's unique and special about it for me, that's going to translate to the audience and just make, it's like a circle of happiness.
yeah. I think another little mini tangent. Sorry, this show's gonna be full of tangents. But I think with Joe Jackson, as Jim grandson, you, um, I think with Joe Jackson, his first thought was my first responsibility is to myself. You know, yes, I owe A&M, I owe the record company, I owe the management, I owe the fans, but my first responsibility is to myself. And if I'm not happy doing it, I'm not going to do it. Like if I have to do it the same way over and over again, I'm not doing it because there's no point to it, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, this list, my God, I'm looking at these songs again. It's like, Jesus. All right.
Yeah. And then mostly these are the deep cuts. I mean, these are the ones that aren't popular,
Yeah,
but they're
I know.
phenomenal.
I know. I know. Like we'll get into that more.
One more point about this
Yes.
album.
Yes.
This is the album that breaks his pattern of uh, of being associated with New York.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
is Billy Joel is known and so beloved by New Yorkers because they feel he so many feel he encapsulates what it means to be a New Yorker.
Yeah.
And but this one has a distinct California LA flavor. Los Angelinos, the root beer rag, just
Okay.
that it's
Yeah.
just Mexican. It just has that Hollywood theme that, but after this, he goes back to his New York roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big time.
Okay. We're moving on to the next two tracks here from Turnstiles. James, my God. Um,
You
comments?
first. No, you first.
Well, I basically wrote notes for each song here.
Mhm.
Um I like the relaxed vibe of the track, a very relaxed feel. Uh, beautiful electric piano. I have your great clarinet. You know,
Hmm.
it's just a beautiful song. It's beautifully done, arranged. The execution is impeccable. Um, and there were quite a few times where I'm sitting there listening to the stuff, and I almost teared up because he pulled out such emotion out of me listening to this stuff that it's hard to believe this is the same guy that wrote Just the Way You Are or Uptown Girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Tell Her About
Well,
It.
I mean, you just named three outstanding songs
Yeah,
that
but
do have like a
what I'm
very
saying is, what I'm saying
hot
is,
emotional core to them.
okay, but what I'm saying is that from a hit aspect, right?
Right.
From the hits
Hmm.
aspect, to me, these songs that we're talking about are much more deeper than Tell Her About It or, Just the Way You Are. It's just, they're coming at you from another level, from another angle. Totally.
Yeah.
Um, I think James is a fantastic piece of work. I think it's, the term masterpiece is thrown around so easily, so I'm not going to use that term, but I think it's damn good. I think it's like, it's one of those smoking cigarettes moments, after you listen to it, it's that good. So,
Yeah.
your thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, this was one of my choices for when we did the 31 Perfect albums.
Yeah.
And to me, this also has some of those, what I refer to is the epics. It's got the perfect opener and closer and all of that.
Yeah.
But Summer Highland Falls is just, oh, it's just so comfortable, everything.
Yeah.
But James, James was one of those songs that I think was a prelude to what was going to come after that was Stranger in 52nd Street. Song wise, his chord progression and melody progression was more jazz oriented,
Yeah.
rather than just the straight, you know, common chords. And so, plus here again, I think the fact that he used an electric piano, I'm not sure if it's Fender Rhodes or Wurlitzer, I'm not sure.
I think it's a
But
world. I think it's a
uh,
world. So.
I think his choice of using that rather than a regular piano makes a huge difference, because it just seems to me to have much more of a personal, intimate feel. But there again,
Yeah.
the song itself, in the composition, it really shows where he's headed for the next two albums at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just looking at a list that I had done for another online music forum where they were doing like a Billy Joel countdown, where everyone submitted their top tracks, and they would just kind of do, they would aggregate the results and just do a countdown from there. I was looking at my list just now, and of my top 10, five of them are from Turnstiles, this album that we're talking about. James was my number four. Um, Summer Highland Falls, which you mentioned, Ken, that was my number three. And the one that we're going to talk about next, um,
Prelude.
Prelude, Angry Young Man, that was my number six. I mean, for people, I'm thinking about this comment that I think was part of the marketing material with Songs of the Attic that kind of said, if people think that Billy Joel's career starts and ends with The Stranger, they've got no idea of what they've missed.
No concept.
Yeah,
Because yeah.
Prelude, Angry Young Man to me is just such a fantastic tune. Again, it's like Billy's piano skills are just completely on fire, and
Yeah.
the the themes about this, um, it's kind of an interesting companion to James. James is just very sort of poignant and forlorn, talking about a friend who like never really made anything with his life,
Yeah.
and Angry Young Man is like the it's like the person who's offended by everything, and everything is about stating a cause and carrying a sign and
Yeah.
torches and pitchforks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting that these two tracks are back to back on the Turnstiles album.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, in my notes here, I've got, in terms of the track itself or prelude, great fast-paced intro, dramatic chords and piano. There's a real frenetic energy on this track, and there's a great melody to it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, I was just a little side note. I was listening to an interview that Brian met with members of Queen did for a journalist in Boston or Detroit in 1977. It was done January 18th, 1977, when they were in Detroit touring for A Day at the Races. And the journalist asked each one of the members, is it still possible to write new melodies or good melodies? Listen to these albums. Do you know what I mean? Listen to Billy Joel albums, and you'll find gems on every single bloody one of them. I'm sorry, it's true. I'm getting
It's
emotional
absolutely
just thinking
freaking
about
true.
it. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Like literally. It's what the hell was I thinking? Like, what was I missing?
Well, it's just one of those things where he almost almost becomes part of the audio wallpaper.
Yeah,
Okay, great. Just the way you are. Great. Honesty. Great. All these things. It's like they just become part of the background,
like
and you kind of lose the fact that there's just this excellent craftsmanship and style and effort that went into these that just it kicks it above everything else. I mean,
yeah.
people are going to be humming the melody to Just the Way You Are 50 years from now, and they're not going to be for insert your favorite Taylor Swift song. It's just,
Oh
the,
God.
the craftsmanship about it is just, we're talking Beatles, Elton, Sinatra, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
Gershwin levels here.
yeah. Oh my God, when you mentioned Taylor Swift, I remember that there
I'm
was
sorry, I know I pushed a button for you,
it's like, no, 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 but there was a story about Taylor Swift outselling the Beatles, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me here? Like, where are we going with this? Like now it's become amateur time, I mean, like amateur hour, but we won't go there. Okay. Um,
Turn in next time for Why Is Our Society Collapsing with Armando.
ex
Well,
I'll
and
be
bear with
right there
me.
with you, man.
Don't go. No, I'm just saying that you hit the nail on the head. Audio wallpaper. It,
Mm,
everything has become so um disposable that song music like this is necessary. It
mhm.
should be mandatory, you know.
Yeah,
They should be discussing music like this in classes, in music appreciation classes. I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, like unbloody real. Like I can't even no, God, won't even go further than that.
well,
Um,
for Prelude, Angry Young Man. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I love the lyrics. I love the story it's telling. And let's face it, the piano playing is blistering. It is insane.
unrelenting. Yeah,
And so for me, this is the brother of Traveling Prayer for me, musically.
hmm
mhm.
hmm
It's got that energy. Um, even though the lyrics are, have a different theme, but the song itself, once that starts, you know, you're shaking
Yeah,
all kinds of body parts. So
yeah.
not just your ass,
I
not just
Well
your
said.
whole body.
yeah.
Um, no, it's
And for those that haven't heard it, this is a description I read on the interwebs, just doing a little bit of research for this, is that apparently Billy Joel's model when he was putting together the piano for, Prelude Angry Young Man, his model was Wipeout by the Surfaris. So he wanted to do the piano equivalent to that drum
I
part.
could hear that. I could hear that. Yeah,
So
very
that
much
that'll give you
so.
an idea of kind of the energy and freneticism of
Oh,
the
sweet
piano in this.
Jesus. I can hear that. I can hear that. Um,
Yeah.
but for me, as intricate and complex as his piano parts are, he makes it sound effortless,
Sure.
with
Oh yeah.
execution of it. Like, my God.
All the best
And
Um,
is
that's the other thing about the audio wallpaper is that not so much the reason that it fades into the background, Billy Joel's music, the way I why I termed it that, is that it's just so comfortable. It's like this, warm blanket that you wrap yourself in on a cold night. It's just everything is just so meticulously done, um, and superbly crafted that it just feels right.
it
And
has a high thread count. Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, I mean, people kind of malign Just the Way You Are, but it was popular for a reason. It's just a damn good song.
no, let me qualify what I was saying before. I think there was too much emphasis placed on songs like Just the Way You Are. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, because it had the hook and because it was a hit, I think uh the record company and management said to him, okay, you got to do more stuff like that. You know,
Sure.
you've hit your stride, you've arrived, quote unquote. I think he arrived with turnstiles myself, but that's another ball of wax altogether. We won't go into that. Maybe we will at some point. But I think that it's a well-known fact in the music business. Once you hit upon something that's successful, it's flogged
Sure,
until
it
you
becomes
can't get any
formula.
more
Yeah.
out of it, right? I mean, case in point, Bat Out of Hell. Okay. I mean, that album, as a side note, that album for Meatloaf was just, once it hit big. And it was toured and toured and toured until he lost his voice and he couldn't do it anymore. So
Yeah.
that's a case of something being flogged to death. And there's nothing wrong with Just the Way You Are. I'm just saying, for me, it's not one I go to listen to.
Oh,
It's,
sure, absolutely.
you know,
I hear you.
so for anyone that's going to send me, crap in terms of the messaging, don't. I know you're probably going to, but don't. So I mean, all right, moving on. To The Stranger. Scenes from an Italian restaurant. I think it's because you only have scenes written here, right? So
Yeah.
scenes. What do I have here in my notes? Very textured piece of music. Great strings, different sections and tempos. And for me, it's an observation of everyday life in
Mhm.
terms of the lyrical content. And this track is mentioned by a lot of people as being their favorite from the album. What are your takes on this track,
Ken?
Ken?
Okay. This is a perfect example of the New Yorkness of Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because they're especially at that time, a lot of New York's diverse strength was the Italian American community.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, in Italian music has a lot of similarities to Dixieland music through their instruments. And so the fact that he goes down that street, so to speak, because it does, for me, has that Dixieland flavor, which I
Well, certainly in
also
the second
associate.
section. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I associate that with Italian American New York. I mean, The Godfather is one of my favorite movies, eh? So um
At least you can sit through it. I can't. Go on.
so yeah, it's such a representation of what he is beloved for. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I would agree.
it's got it all. It's just got it all.
The note that I have for this song, "Scenes from an Italian Restaurant," to me, and this ties back to your phrase, Ken, this is his most epic of epics to me. It's got three distinct suites to it, or it's three distinct parts in this whole suite of music. They're all different. They all have their own flavor. They
Yeah.
all, you know, the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts
Yeah.
in this case. And yeah, it's just it feels like New York. It's so familiar, it's so relatable, it's so fun. All I gotta say that the sax and the clarinet, this has got to be the star of this track, just how it's used in all the different sections. Um, it's phenomenal. Kind of going back to the list that I had said before, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is my number one, and it is so well known and so
Yeah.
loved by Billy Joel fans. It felt kind of strange to me to call it a deep cut, but
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
I know that you would hear this on FM radio occasionally. In fact, when my family and I went back east for a vacation about 10 years ago, and we were in um, Philadelphia, we spent like 3 days in Philly. Every day, I kid you not, every day at least once, I heard blaring from some shop somewhere scenes from an Italian restaurant. And this was like 2012,
Yeah,
2014.
yeah.
That it's kind of become part of the East Coast.
Well, I mean, this song is very atmospheric. I mean, when you listen to it, you can picture yourself in these scenes, as it were. Do you know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
with the characters, walking down the street to your local cafe or your local restaurant for, a Saturday dinner, like, early evening and just walking out and like the smells of the neighborhood sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're in that scene, you're in that mindset, when you listen to this, and it's just like, good Lord. I mean, like it's unreal. This is just amazing.
Do you recall, Armando, when you saw the combo Elton Billy Joel show? Did Billy play this?
I believe he did. Yeah. I mean, this was
Okay.
this was what, 1993. Yeah. Or 93. Um, yeah, he did. And the crowd in Toronto went crazy. I mean, it was just
It's the
nuts.
same way for when, he played it the first time I saw him, which was in 82. Is that, he just puts out those first four or five notes, place went bananas.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
such a deeply loved song.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Moving on to Stranger. Um
Side two. We've now
uh,
flipped the record over.
yeah, yeah. Vienna. Uh, I have in my notes here, relaxed tempo, great accordion. Not very many notes on this track, but it's a good song. It's really, um again, he's got an ability to just pull you in to what he's singing about. You know what I mean? Um, and before you know it, you're just lost in the music. That's my take on it. So, um, you too? What do you think?
Uh, Kind of going back to that list, Vienna is my number two as far as my favorite Billy Joel songs because it's just so
Yeah,
it's touching, it's tender, it's exquisite. It's um, the scene is the grandmother or the matronly aunt kind of giving some advice to,
yeah,
the younger child in there
that's
to
right. That's
just
right.
kind of appreciate life. And it's such a beautiful sentiment, and it's so wonderfully portrayed. And with the accordion, it kind of pulls you back into that old world Italian sort of feel, and
You
it's
know
it's
what?
just to die for.
Y- You know what? Growing up in Toronto in an Italian family,
Oh, that's right.
it's not a cliche. I mean,
Okay.
I remember sitting on the veranda on the steps, and I was like 5, 6 years old, and having the music playing and hearing, in my house we heard different types of music like pop, rock, Italian. Accordion was definitely heard, okay, in terms of music. So yeah, it's not a cliche. It's real. I mean, and it has an effect on you for life. It really does. Just that there's a romanticism
Hmm.
in this music and in these songs too. And it's not lost on me. Believe me, it's not lost on me at all. So yeah. Um, Ken, any comments?
Well, we're just talking about just how incredibly good scenes from an Italian restaurant is. And so you really enjoy that. You really get into it. You're you're kind of sad that the song ends,
Yeah.
and then you flip the record, and then boom, Vienna. It's like, hey, it does kind of continue. You know, they're all cut from the same pattern, the same swath. Um, it's too bad that they couldn't have been on the same side of the record, so it would just automatically go into it. It's just a perfect match.
Yeah.
These songs are just perfectly matched
Yeah.
for the same reasons.
Would you say that at this point he was on a hot streak in terms of not only writing hits, but writing, um, I guess you'd say, conscious evoking kind of music, just songs that mm, just drew you in? I mean,
Well, I think at this point, he was still writing what he wanted to write.
okay.
You know, this is what he wanted to do. I think just the timing and the zeitgeist, you know, that you've got just the way you are, you know, moving out, only the good die young, all the ones that everybody knows,
Yeah.
it just happened to click with the public at that time. He may have been trying to, you know, to some extent, you know, give the record company what they wanted, but I think it was just the right songs at the right time. I think he was doing what he wanted to do, especially going back to his roots.
Yeah. The interesting thing about both Turnstiles and The Stranger is that he used his touring band for the as the studio band for both those records. Now, there are some people that are brought in here and there, like, the awesome Phil Woods does the solo on Just the Way You Are. There's
Mhm.
obviously strings on some things and whatnot. But I think the fact that he brought in his touring band provided him, he was able to play to his strengths.
Yeah.
It's like he's got this limitation now. It's not like, I could just go and hire any studio hotshot I want. It's like, here's my combo. I'm writing songs that this band can play.
Okay.
And I think, he kind of played to that strengths. I mean, to me, 76, 77, I think those are his prime songwriting years in terms of just melodic strength and hooks. Obviously, he's got songs throughout his catalog that are as good or maybe better in certain circumstances. But for me, just overall consistently, 76, 77 is just his untouchable period.
Okay. Refresh my memory because there was an album that he was recording. I think it was Turnstiles. I think it was Turnstiles. You can refresh my memory that he felt that the production was slipping away from him due to the producer he was using. So he
That's
Yeah,
basically
Turnstiles. Yeah.
yeah,
he took the reins back and said, "Okay, you're out. I'm in. I'm doing this, and I'm bringing my band in, and we're going to do it my way." So it was Turnstiles.
yes.
Okay, okay.
And
I
that turned
remember.
out to be the only self-produced album because the producer, and I can't remember who it was, wanted to bring in session players.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he
And
didn't.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that was one of several issues that where they were butting heads. So yeah, Billy Joel took it over and says, "Okay, I'm using my guys." And boy, was he right.
That
Yeah.
tends to be a bone of contention with quite a few artists who intrinsically know what they want to do musically with their ideas, and the record company will come in or the management's like, you know what, we don't feel that you've got the right experience or the right um, perspective on this. You're too close. We need to bring someone in to do this and why? I mean, he knew what he wanted to do. You you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
like
but at the
telling,
same time, sometimes that works. I mean, look at XTC and Skylarking.
well, true enough, true enough. No,
And
there's one example. Yeah, yeah.
and that was a very contentious recording sessions.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
however, um, even Andy Partridge looks back and said, "Okay, yeah, Todd Rundgren was right," you know. So
yeah.
it's like movies, sometimes what the studio wants to do with it is best and sometimes not. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in this case, it worked very well, him
Yeah.
taking it over.
Okay. Moving down to the last two numbers on list for part one of Play Me a Song. We are looking at 52nd Street and we're tackling Zanzibar. Holy jeez. I'll let you guys go first because yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, 52nd Street was one of Bill's selections in 31 Perfect Albums.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it was.
and to me,
Bishop Bill. Yeah.
these Zanzibar and the next tune to me are two of like, exhibits A and B of why this album is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, this the note I have here is that Billy Joel goes full Asia, just in terms of like the jazz influence on a song, and maybe it's a cheap shot in a way. I don't mean to demean the song because I absolutely love it. Um, but you can kind of say, all right, whereas Wayne Shorter is to Asia, Freddie Hubbard is to Zanzibar, and yeah, Hubbard's two solos on this song just frickin' cook. It's
Mhm.
just this great, you know, you know, double time, speed walking bass trumpet solo um, in the tune that just really gives it this weight and feel that takes you elsewhere. I mean, I don't. Sorry if I'm being redundant, but Zanzibar and the other song I'm thinking of are like the two travel log songs from 52nd Street, whereas a lot of the album feels, again, very grounded in New York. There's a couple of songs that just sort of take it away,
Yeah,
and Zanzibar is
yeah.
definitely one of them.
You're on a ride and you don't off to like somewhere exotic or you don't know where you're going to end up, but you know what?
Hmm.
You're not questioning it. You're just taking the ride, right? And enjoying
Yeah,
what you're hearing. Yeah, no,
and it's great too because of the where it's placed on the album at the end of side one.
yeah,
You kind of figure, okay, you've got Big Shot, which is great. Honesty, which is great. My Life, again, three great killer songs. And so let's end the side with something that's not quite 180 degrees from those,
yeah.
but it definitely sort of makes you realize this is not just, a cut and paste Billy Joel affair throughout the whole album.
No, no, it's not. It's not. Ken, any comment?
Zanzibar is, for me, a perfect example of how visual so many of Billy Joel's songs are. I
Yes.
mean, I listen to Zanzibar and my brain pictures the movie Casablanca.
Yes.
It's just, they just do, just like most of the others we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I agree with Jim. Both of these songs have non-standard harmonic progressions, jazzy
Yes.
progressions
Different time signatures,
that
different sections, different
yeah,
movements.
and
Yeah.
and that he would continue to use. Um, Alternatively, with some like I said, Big Shot, Honesty, My Life, those are pretty standard forms, just very good examples of standard forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zanzibar also, gives me Steely Dan vibes. It really does.
Okay. Well, I mean, in my notes, like in terms of the song itself, the piece of music, like what I like about it, the double time piano chords that I hear, but it's very melodic, nice use of what I hear vibraphone, um, you know, not, with Underwood quality, but it's still there. You know what I mean? Like it's like just amazing. Nice change in tempo. And, the jazz influence on this track is obvious. Like, come on,
Yeah.
it literally slaps you in the face, but you want it to, you know what I mean? Because it's that good. and just some great trumpet work, just some great horns. I
Mhm.
mean, you're taken away on a trip, on a destination that you don't know where you're going to end up, but you don't care because the music just carries you along, and
Yeah.
you're pulled in and you're all the better for it. My very humble opinion. But
It's interesting the way that Billy puts this together too, because the verses of the song have the da da dun 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 da da dun dun, and before you get into the jazz break in the middle of this track, he's got
yeah,
the same thing, just slightly rearranged, dun 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 dun,
yeah,
dun, and then it just kicks into the drum bass trumpet section, and it's an unexpected treasure.
yeah. No, very much so. Very much so. I'm gonna enjoy these albums, I swear to God. They're gonna be in the van for when Bob and I go on our trips together. It's like, play this. Play it again, Sam. Seriously, fantastic. All right, the last track on the list for part one, Rosalinda's Eyes. Um, you know, in my notes I have, like smooth keyboard intro, great rhythm guitar, a really relaxed tempo on it. And to me, it's got an exotic feel to it
Hmm.
overall, you know.
Oh, Havana,
Yeah.
it's got
Yeah.
that Cuban feel to
Yeah.
it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. This is like you're on a cruise ship. It's late at night. You're sitting on the deck with a drink in your hand or a coffee, whatever, just enjoying the summer breeze or the warm breeze that's coming off the ocean.
Hmm.
And you're just like, this is paradise.
Mhm.
This is just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
If if
Um,
if my memory serves me correct, Rosalinda's Eyes is kind of a recasting of a much older Billy Joel song that never made it onto an album. And I think the older version from the earlier 70s is on the My Lives box set. And he put that on there as sort of a way to sort of compare and contrast
yeah,
how he sort of originally saw the song back in the day and what it evolved into when it was finally released. And it's a neat way to kind of not only see his well, it's a neat way to see his progression as a songwriter and as an arranger. You could tell it's like Rosalinda's Eyes in its final released form is it's a much superior version. It's just so superbly crafted.
yeah, yeah. Any additional thoughts, Ken?
There is um a concept in classical music um called a tone poem, and that's where the lyrics reflect the music and vice versa. And this is an example of just the perfect match between the lyrics and the music. They just belong together. They complement each other. It's obvious. Um, Even if you didn't have the lyrics, you'd still kind of get the same feeling and back and forth. And I mean, it starts off with electric piano and the bass. It just, I mean, from second one, it grabs me.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah.
you add the lyrics and the jazzy progressions and everything, and yeah, this is feel good music.
yeah. And just a quick side note, just to mention, the bass work on these tracks is just phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
the quality of musicianship that is on these tracks, session player or not. I mean, you can't deny that the work, the quality of the playing is stellar. I mean, it's just phenomenal, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
think it's Doug Stegmeyer who was his touring bassist. And I think, had been playing with Billy since like 75 or something. So
yeah,
he's definitely locked into, the Billy Joel way of thinking about music and performing it, you know, what how to hit the melody and harmony in certain ways to
it's
propel it forward. So these guys were just completely locked in at
yeah,
this point.
yeah. No, I would agree with you 100%. Um, so ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of part one of Play Me a Song, Deep Cut Dives on Billy Joel. Just to let you guys know, you can get these albums, or at least 10 of these albums, in a classic albums collection set released through Sony Legacy Music. Mine are going to be here by the end of the weekend. Okay. And we will be back with part two of Play Me a Song. So don't go away. We'll be back soon. Bye for now.